Studying abroad. These two words bring with them a whole slew of questions. What do you do? What's the cost? What's the purpose? Is it worth it? Instead of offering you some vague encouragement or criticism at the thought of visiting a foreign country for educational purposes, I thought I'd share our trip to Ireland with NWTC, because at the end of the day, all these questions boil down into a simple why? Let's shed some light on that. I was quite tempted to save speaking about the inhabitants for the end, but so much of the richness of Ireland and the visitation of it lies in their history. The people wear their past on their sleeves, so to speak, and once acquainted with the stories, you could begin to see it in them as they performed everyday life. We saw it in how they spoke to each other, in how they looked at and treated issues of the day, in their politics, in the sporting events they partook in, and how they celebrated both them and their country. The Irish suffered together through conquest and famine. They didn't always get along, but they never failed to come together amidst their trials. The unity they displayed to us those 2 short weeks felt no less than understandably perplexing. They seemed strange, but never without making sense. And this difference in cultures, the exposure to something both new and familiar, is an unmatched experience when confined to your own shore. The obvious one. The shorelines and seascapes, hills and fields, the greenery and valleys. I have been to many environments over the years and can certify that Ireland really is as beautiful as is often claimed. A small island rich in life, with many cliffs rising from the water, a bastion of growth and green. I'm not one for views, but the sights off the coast were still enough to make me pause. For many of these excursions, we were joined by a fantastic guide named Jonathan. As we saw Waterford for the first time, visited Woodstock Garden, traveled to the north side of Ireland, it always seemed that the very ground beneath us carried the weight of the country's past in the same way and depth that its populace did. This was the one I saved because it was the one that caught me the most off guard, as the structures were the things I least expected to surprise me. There were plenty of modern buildings, simple designs, average construction and all that jazz. But there were also old stone structures, still in use. As a matter of fact, we realized over time that it was quite commonplace for the buildings we walked past to have stone walls that had been standing since before the country we came from even existed. When I spoke of the history that the people wore on their sleeves, this is a piece of what I meant. The cannonball in Reginald's Tower, the medieval gold vestments beneath Christ Church Cathedral, Belfast, birthplace of the Titanic. The locations, buildings, and people, it felt so intertwined with their intermingled, shared histories, it felt rather unfair to separate them as I have. The whole of Ireland is a symphony, one that I get to share but one excerpt from in this short time. This leaves but one question. Did you hear the music? Or are your ears tuned to a different melody? The currency that all of humanity utilizes regardless of creed or conviction is time. So too is the value of studying abroad determined. I cannot tell you yes or no. I cannot decide the worth that one experience that I hold dear has to you. A venture such as this is a personal consideration. Do you think the kinds of things I've described hold merit? How much? Do you have a strong curiosity? Perhaps you'd like to hear someone else's take on the trip.
It's definitely been more than I expected. You go in with an itinerary, things that you know you're going to see.
a good opportunity for growth in a level that I never would have gotten anywhere else, and an experience I could not have gained through any of my prior experiences traveling with my family.
My study abroad experience has felt fantastic, actually. I have made more friends than I thought. I knew coming into it that I would enjoy it, but not to the extent that I actually did.
I expected to see the same thing over and over, but every castle you go to is so unique in their own way, and so just take everything in.
Nobody else has the right to say whether or not studying abroad is wise for you. But if I'm being honest, I hope you say yes.